Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Now, can you just tell me if you hear me? Thumbs up. Great, thank you so much. It is a great pleasure to warmly welcome you to this third online engagement session of the Transboundary Freshwater Security Governance Train. My name is Yumiko Yasuda. I'm the Senior Transboundary Water Cooperation Specialist at the Global Water Partnership and the lead faculty of the Massive Open Online course on the Governance for Transboundary Freshwater Security, which was developed by GWP, GEF IWRM, along with many global partners and experts from the field of transboundary water. And you have just seen a short promotional video on this MOOC. Since the opening of this course in August 2020, this MOOC has attracted over 1,900 participants from 145 countries around the world, confirming the need and interest for learning about this subject. The course is available for anyone to take at their own pace. In order to enhance the learning experience and to provide opportunity for people to engage and interact with experts in the field, GWP and the Wuhan International Water Law Academy worked together to create an online session series called Transboundary Freshwater Security Governance Train. This series of events, we will be highlighting not only the key topics of transboundary freshwater governance, but also highlights various examples and expertise from different geographic locations around the globe, as if the train is stopping at various locations around the world. Together with Wuhan International Water Law Academy, we are planning 6 online sessions specifically focusing on topics of international water law. You see the list of the sessions, and some of you participated to the previous ones. Today is the 3rd session on this series, and the topic is on the River Basin Organization and treaty commitments. Today's session has 2 main parts. The first part is a panel discussion by distinguished speakers, where they will be sharing their experiences on the topic and answering questions. The second part is a breakout session where you will all have opportunity to interact with experts directly. We have a great lineup of session chairs and speakers for the next 1 hour and 40 minutes. And today, our Transboundary Freshwater Governance Train will be stopping at Europe, North and South America, welcoming speakers from all of these regions. There are some housekeeping rules to today's event. This online session will be recorded, so people who couldn't join due to other commitments or due to the time zone will be able to also view the discussions. Please always mute your audio when the moderator or speakers are presenting. You can unmute yourself or will be invited to do so by the moderator or the chair when requested to speak. This event will not only present new knowledge, but will also welcome your input in the interactive part. So please, we count on your presence throughout the whole session. So please stay until the end. Today's session is designed to be as interactive as possible for you to be able to ask your questions to experts and to also provide your thoughts and feedback to the subject. We'll be using Poll-If as a main interacting tool, particularly during the first session. Some of you have already used the Poll-If in the previous session and also today while waiting for the event to start. Let's see the first Poll-If question. The first question is, where are you joining from? Now, for you to be able to answer this question, please go to www.pollif.com/GWP. I think link is also in the chat. My colleague has posted the link. So please go, and also you can see on top of this screen that you see, pollif.com/GWP. You can type this on your phone, on your browser, or your tablet, and let us know where you're coming from. We see now a lot of dots coming up. It's amazing. We see a wide range of people coming from different parts of the world. Many of you coming from Latin America, now South America, Central America, North America. Thank you so much. We are finally holding this event in your time zone. The previous two events were a bit too early for you. So I'm very, very happy to see so many of you joining from that part of the world. Thank you so much for colleagues joining from Europe, Africa, and also Asia. And I see Far East also in Japan as well. Thank you so much. Really, really happy to see this diverse geographic participation. I hope you all can use this poll Eve as a way to ask any questions that in the coming phase. And thank you also. I see some of you also typing in the chat where you're coming from. I see Brazil, Uganda, Zambia, Nigeria, Peru, Thailand, Philippines. Thank you so much. It's really amazing to see all of you coming from so many different places of the world. Now we would like to move on to the next question for you. Now your poll Eve will change to the next step. So today's topic is about the river basin organizations. So we would like you to tell us what legal mandates should river basin organization have. You can select up to 3 options. They are data gathering, joint monitoring, notification and consultation of planned measures, conducting joint environmental impact assessments, stakeholder participation, early warning of accidental pollution or extreme events, dispute settlements, preparation of basin development plans, identification of joint measures. Now we see many of you starting to respond. There's a high score in the preparation of the basin development plans and the joint monitoring, followed by the data gathering. Also, many of you think this notification, consultation of plan measures is also important factors. So, and stakeholder participation. Great to see your responses. I know it's very hard to choose. All of these are very, very important functions of the river basin organizations. And in today's discussions, I'm sure many panelists will be touching upon many of these different functions and the role of the river basin organizations. This is great. Thank you. Thank you so much for your response. Now, swiftly, I would like to move on to the next question for you to answer. Should the RBO, the River Basin Organization, have an enforcement role, use of fines, or to take sanctions to ensure compliance? This is a very interesting question. Should the River Basin Organization have a much more, should it be a powerful organization to really impose actions to the basin members or not? And this is very much also a legal related question, I can say, very fit to the topics. Many of you have said yes, it should have enforcement role. Would love to also ask these questions to our panelists, actually. What do they think about it? But we also seeing many people are saying no to this as well. So this is interesting. It's a pretty mixed situations, and perhaps there's no yes or no clear solution to this situation. But it would be also interesting to think about, like, in what context that this could work and not work, perhaps. And that, me as a social scientist, it's a little more social science scientist questions. Great, but yes, it's almost tie. I mean, 60-40. More people say yes, but still, like, quite a chunk of many of you are saying no. Great, thank you so much. I hope these questions had made you a little bit think about today's topics. And our final question now is, this is an open question to you. Please type or your vote any questions you would like to ask the panelists. Now, I know you have already submitted your questions, and in the first round of panel discussion, we will try to address many of that. but we still would like to hear from you. What are your questions? What are your interests? And when you type in your questions, you can also see what other people have typed into this poll if, and you can also vote. If you like the other people's question, you can vote. So please do that. I'm just seeing a yes at this stage. Haven't seen any questions. Could someone maybe type in the question so we see? Yes, we see it. How to cope with the political asymmetries in the RVO. So if you see this question and if you like it, you can vote, and you can vote as many as you want. So now I see already many questions are coming up. And this will be the main way in the first half of today's sessions to interact with the panelists. In the second half, you can ask directly the questions. But the first plenary session will be using this poll if as a mechanism to sort of collect your sort of collective questions from the people. And you just started to put the questions here, but we will keep this open. Even if you're hearing the other presentations, you can still type to your poll if. So please just keep checking your poll if while you listen to the presenters and panelists, and then keep asking us the questions. Great. So now I would like to introduce two distinguished chairs that we have today. Professor Alistair Clark from Northumbria University, and Dr. Barbara Janus Paoletta from Kazakh German University. Next slide, please. So Professor Alistair Clark, he has over 20 years experience in research and teaching and consultancy related to international water law and transboundary waters. He has, prior to joining this university, he has also worked at the Center for Water Law Policy and Science, University of Dundee. And also he has been very much working with the Water Convention Secretariat in Geneva, which is one of the key global conventions on transboundary waters, particularly on the SDG reporting on the 6.5.2. His research primarily focuses on the developing knowledge and understanding of how transboundary water treaties can work better. The fun fact is that Alistair lives near St. Andrews, the home of the golf and place of 5 handicap. And his biggest achievement in life is a family for sure. Thank you, Alistair. And then I would like to introduce Dr. Barbara Janus Paoletta. She is the Vice Rector of International Cooperation at Kazakh German University. The Barbara's teaching and research field covers legal framework, institutional interstate cooperation, including water and energy nexus. She's looking at the worldwide and regional practices, especially in Central Asia, to facilitate interstate cooperation. In addition to her position at the Kazakh German University, Dr. Janus Paoletta is a member of the Technical Committee of the Global Water Partnership and at International Law Association within the Committee Role of International Law and Sustainable Natural Resources Management. She also serves as the UNESCO Chair for the Water Management in Central Asia. The fun fact about Barbara is that she loves the piano music but cannot play it anymore, so she's teaching it to play piano for 4 sons. She has 4 sons, which is also her biggest achievement. She's written here that happy life, a happy and a big family. And I'm also happy to tell you that Alistair and Barbara were the really 2 key people to develop the module on international water law, a module of our MOOC. So I'm very, very happy to welcome Alistair and Barbara to be the co-chairs of today's session. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Yumiko. Maybe please allow me to start with a short introduction to today's topic. So as everyone knows, the Basin have been recognized as the practical hydrological units for water resource management, and around the world there are 263 large basins, river organizations, and and hundreds of transboundary aquifers. And integrated water resource management approach emphasizing creating an effective institutional and regulatory arrangements for these basins to enable equitable and sustainable decisions and cooperation among countries which are sharing transboundary watercourses. So-called RBOs can play an extremely important role in the implementation of international water law. And at the same time, they are important to implement sustainable development goals, as it's compared and mentioned today already 6.2, 6.5.2 refers to operational arrangements for water cooperation in transboundary basins, where the arrangement can be considered operational, among others, when there is a joint body existing. So as a first, we should note that there are different types of institutions that manage basins, and all may be called as basin organizations. Basin organization itself can be understood as an formal or informal entity that manages water resources at the basin scale and are mandated to facilitate interstate cooperation. One of examples of such a common management institutions could be transboundary river organizations. And as shown in the practice of states, they are permanent, they should be correctly equipped, mandated, equipped with forms and organizational structures, and also able to take decisions by consensus with relevant forms and organizational structures. Basin organizations can take many forms: statutory decision-making or advisory bodies, management bodies, or development agencies and regulatory bodies. There are different types of basin organizations, like basin commissions and authorities, basin directorates and agencies, basin associations. But important to note the second point, that there are very different wide of functions assigned to the basin organizations. And first of all, we should consider how big role they can play in setting up the legal regulations, principles, and mechanisms determining what is equitable, reasonable use of water courses, how we can exchange data, how we can support decisions, what can we do about environmental impact assessment, and also how can we integrate more of the stakeholders' engagement and even disputes settlement, what was discussed or asked you before. And the interstate practice shows already today that RBOs, they facilitate the cooperation amongst the states, and they are helping to interpret international water law. For example, what we mean by equitable use, by not causing significant harm, by protecting environment, by referring to community interest in the transboundary watercourses. So the participation in RBOs is especially critical for exchange of information, for implementation of other procedures that we are going to discuss today, joint environmental impact assessments, stakeholders engagements, and previously also mentioned. Especially, I think it's important in the terms of the protection of the ecosystems, which really need cooperation of the states. And the different functions include also monitoring, investigation, coordination, and regulation of the cooperation of the states. Of course, also planning and financing, or even development and management of the cooperation of the states. And the third issue, I think it's important that that it's not prescribed by international water law itself what type of RBO should be established. So we can think about different types, and they are regulated in different international documents, be it of declarative or binding characters, like international agreements. But there is no customary law obligation, so there is not a must according to customary law to participate in RBOs, only in sense of really reflecting indirectly the state's duty to cooperation. But let's finish the introduction and listen to our brilliant speakers to see the different worldwide experience on the basins, what makes them effective, and what we can follow as the best practices. Thank you very much. And I give the floor to Alistair.
Thanks, Barbara. Greetings, everyone. It's a real pleasure to participate in another one of these sessions and see such great participation. So let me quickly introduce our our great panelists that we have today. So first up, we have Dr. Christina Leb, Senior Counsel, Environment and International Law Department of the World Bank. And prior to that, Christina was working as Program Manager, Central Asia Water Energy Program, and the thematic focal point for transboundary waters at the World Global Practice. Prior to working at the World Bank, Christina worked at the Faculty of Law at the University of Geneva and was part of the university's platform for international water law. And she's also an affiliate member of Wuhan University's International Water Law Academy. Fun fact, she's since lockdown, or working from home, she's been trying to learn the ukulele, which my piano skills I can appreciate that as well. And she's also, her biggest achievement is completing the 160-kilometer Tour de Lac around Lake Geneva, which is really impressive. I think I would probably get to Montreux and then stop for an ice cream and not get back in the boat. Next, we have Ivan Zavadsky, who is permanent secretary of the Secretariat of the International Commission for Protection of the Danube River. And he's been working there since 2013. Earlier, he worked in Bratislava's water utility company and for the Slovak government. And if I remember correctly, I think he has some involvement with the famous Gabčíkova-Načmoroš case, a very famous one for international water law. Since 2001, he was managing 2 UNDP GEF regional projects on the Danube River Basin in the Black Sea region. From 2017 to mid-2013, he was working with the Global Environment Facility Secretariat, so working across a huge portfolio of projects on international waters and helping to develop a strategy, leading the development of a strategy on GEF International Water Strategy for the 6th GEF cycle. Has a master's degree in water management, specialization in water supply and sanitation from Slovak Technical University in Bratislava, and postgraduate degrees in water management economics from the same university. And a fun fact, well, he's not only a water engineer and a water professional, but he's a passionate canoe racer. So if recreational uses of the Danube get priority, you can see where it comes from. You know who to blame. Lastly, we have, last but not least, we have Sebastian Izquierdo, who's a binational coordinator for UNDP. He qualified as a civil engineer at the University of Cuenca in Ecuador, which, if my poor Spanish is correct, I think that's Cuenca is the Spanish for river basins. So that's already a great start. Studied integrated water resources management, relating to safe drinking water at University of Bologna. He's currently working as a binational coordinator for UNDP. He was the executive director of the Commission for Environmental Management in Cuenca. And he's also worked as an environmental manager for Itapa EP, the water supply company in Cuenca. He has got extensive experience in environmental management, sanitary engineering, planning, and governance. And so it'll be a real pleasure and honor for us to hear from his experience. And fun fact, his classmates call him Vici, which apparently some people get, but I'm not sure, but I'll leave that for everyone to work out. So as you can see, once again, we've got a really great set of speakers, and I'm very much looking forward to learning from their experience and knowledge. So Barbara, I'll pass over to you.
Thank you very much, Alistair. Thank you to all the speakers who agreed to be with us tonight for Central Asia. It's kind of dark outside, but I believe in other regions it's a little bit more pleasant time. So thank you very much. And I would like to give the floor to Christina to give us a little bit of overview and of what RBOs are and what is their role in the implementation of legal commitments. So Christina, floor is yours. 5 minutes of our attention to you.
Great, thanks a lot, Barbara. Thanks a lot, Alistair, and thanks a lot, Yumiko, for the invitation. Yeah, I'll expand a little bit more on the introduction that Barbara already provided and go a little bit more into the sort of the basics and structures of river basin organizations, or as we call them, also a little bit more generic in international law, joint mechanisms. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see that I'll be following, if you already have taken the course, I'll be following the structure that Professor Owen McIntyre outlines in Module 4D in terms of characterizing river basin organizations or joint mechanisms according to permanence, capacitated, and mandated. And as Barbara said, in international law, there's sort of a customary obligation to participate and cooperate, and then that encourages states also to think about establishing joint mechanisms. And we see that has been codified also in the 1997 UN Watercourses Convention, this encouragement that riparian countries consider the establishment of joint mechanisms, whereas the 1992 UNECE Water Convention actually goes further and establishes an obligation to establish these joint mechanisms. And why is that? Because river basin organizations, joint mechanisms are very important platforms for cooperation to implement and sort of achieve sort of sustainability in shared water resource management. So when we talk about the permanence of river basin organizations, then we really sort of should be looking at the underlying constituent instrument that creates such a mechanism. And there we have sort of typically two ways. One is sort of an international treaty, but we also find river basin organizations and joint mechanisms that are really based on ministerial meetings, declarations by countries, sort of more sort of political type of agreements. And that's, for instance, the Nile Basin Initiative that has been established based on the minutes of ministerial meetings. And then the organization has been integrated nationally through headquarters agreements, which provide privileges and immunities to staff and certain sort of legal personality attributes. But you can see that there's sort of a difference if you use a different constituting agreement in the terms of the permanence of the institution. If it's ministerial agreements, there's always the risk that with a change of government, mechanisms may become obsolete, they become a little bit less active, whereas international treaties really, by the force that they bind the states and establish legal commitments, create more permanence for joint mechanisms. We have also seen, and you can see it in some basins, that permanence of a joint mechanism can actually increase or stabilize over time. So for instance, if you look at the Rhine, the history of the Rhine, the International Commission for the Protection of the Rhine from Pollution was actually initially established based on such a ministerial agreement and mostly as a scientific commission to look into pollution aspects of the Rhine. And only then in 1963 was sort of formalized through a convention, still with a focus on pollution. And then in 1999, the mandate of this commission was actually broadened. The attribute of pollution was dropped, and it was really given sort of more of an ecosystem mandate and really looking after integrated water resource management in the Rhine. So next slide, please. If we go to the degree to which institutions are capacitated, that depends on its legal personality and degree of institutionalization. As Barbara already said, there are many, many different forms of river basin organizations, joint mechanisms. And here again, I'll follow the categorization that's provided by Susanne Schmeier and Saki Schuber in one of the readings of the module of distinguishing between committees, commissions, and authorities. Committees are typically joint mechanisms that have sort of a limited institutional setup. So let's think about, they can be consisting of nominated representatives from states that meet on an annual basis. They can have national sections. which communicate more frequently across the borders, but they don't necessarily have a joint physical secretariat. And they typically have limited institutional and very sort of functions and limited mandates. So some of the examples are, for instance, the Permanent Indus Commission, the India-Bangladesh Joint Rivers Commission. As you can see, the categorization by authors as committees is not necessarily reflected in the names of a joint mechanism, as the Permanent Indus Commission has the name of a commission. So it's really important to always look at what is the underlying structure, what does the constituent instrument say about the structure. And then we have the commissions, which typically possess some legal personality.
Can I ask you to a little bit round up, Christina, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
And they have some legal personality and recommending function. Even we'll go more into the characteristics of these commissions. And then as a third category, we have authorities that are joint mechanisms with the farthest reaching legal personality. They typically are autonomous, have very strong secretariats that would include technical bodies like observatories. The ONBS in Senegal is also in charge of the electricity trade in the basin. So they're really strongly capacitated. And then as the third sort of characteristic is the mandate. And here there can be sort of the mandates in terms of what do they do in terms of advisory, executive, or regulatory mandates. As I said, committees and commissions would be mostly advisory, sometimes commissions also executive, and regulatory would typically be with authorities. And they have functional mandates that are attributed to them in the treaty, sort of sectoral mandates. They can be focused either on flood control and hydropower production, or they can be looking after integrated water resource management. And then you have other commissions that really sort of go beyond water and have actually mandates that even include regional integration, such as the Amazon Commission. And again, here, they are platforms of cooperation, and often these joint mechanisms can also expand cooperation over time and their role over time, in the sense of that their mandates can be broadened by the riparian countries by giving them more tasks. And also, as we have seen in the Rhine, structural integration, the degree of institutionalization can actually enhance over time. And then I'll hand over to Ivan. Thanks a lot for your patience with me.
Thanks. You so much, Christina. Sorry for the pressure of the time. Yeah, Ivan, please. I mean, if you could maybe speak from the very practical point of view, your experience in the ICDR. Thank you.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. So thank you for inviting me here for this short intervention. So I will just try to give you a quick snapshot of what ICPDR, International Commission of the Protection of the Danube River Basin, is, what it is based on, and what are, I would say, one of the key mandates and key activities which were introduced more eloquently by Barbara and Christina earlier. Next slide, please. Just a very quick overview, where do we are in the Europe? It's the second largest European river, shared by 19 countries. So that's I would say a very specific feature of our cooperation, that the Danube Basin covered territories of 19 countries, which of only 14 joined in our commission. Next, please. So our work is based on this convention. So based on this portion of the basin, which these different countries cover, we have invited 30 years ago, putting together this convention, only the countries sharing more than 2,000 square kilometers of the basin. However, every country, every contracting party to our convention has a mechanism of transboundary cooperation with the neighbors in the basin. So our basin policies are pretty much understood and somewhat cooperating with all countries sharing the basin. As we said, our work is based on the convention. So it's a legal document based on the principles of international law already introduced by previous speakers. And a structure is quite, I would say, standard. The convention is comprising of general provisions, speaking of objective scopes, underlining multilateral cooperation. It's also setting the legal frame of International Commission. It has its procedural and final clauses and different annexes of best available techniques, best environmental practices, list of industries potentially causing pollution, and statute of the Commission, and also there's some annex about arbitration, which is in line with general standards in international law. Next slide, please. I would like to feature first, I would say, one of the key element of our institutional structure, which is one of the, I would say, key ingredient of our good work. As you see, this structure is rather simple. There is a commission comprising of delegations from 15 contracting parties. These are governmental nominees. There is a tiny secretariat with 9 people with seat in Vienna. But as we say, the backbone of our regulatory policy and technical work are the expert groups. As you see the list of the 7 expert groups and 4 task groups, they are set up on a way that they are given a specific technical task to deliver upon. But important is that the members of these expert and task groups are technical experts from the contracting parties, which are most 95% representing the government institutions which are responsible for policy and implementation of technical issues and regulation in the given area in the countries. So whatever type of new policy, new regulation, new system, new monitoring is being developed by this group and then politically adopted for implementation by contracting parties by the Commission, these people who are representing the contracting parties in this commission, in these expert groups, are responsible for the implementation on the national level. So that means that the policy arc of our work is pretty much closed. So we really don't see so much, let's say, problems with the implementation. Next slide, please. Another important feature is our transnational monitoring network. I was reminded to really speak quicker, so I am not going into technical details. What is important on our monitoring network are 2 features. All the data produced are at the national laboratories on the national cost, but the final reports, the final values are being agreed and adopted by the monitoring group. So these are the official governmental data, which then become an official data of our basin. And they are accessible through our yearbooks and our web page. Next, please. Important feature of our work is this accidency emergency warning system. This is a communication system to share the information on existing or potential accidental pollution. What is important for this system is that every contracting party has minimum 1 principal information alert center working 24/7. So it's web-based. So, and we have a protocols under which the information on existing or potential pollution is coming. Next slide, please. This is the map that you see all the principal alert centers operating by governmental institutions. Next slide, please. And this is the key features of what type of information, how this is working. It's very simplified, standardized, and our Secretariat and our expert group is, we conduct a regular training and a regular, let's say, exercises with training on, let's say, false accident, that we see how the connection works, whether they respond in 3 minutes. Next slide, please.
And if I could ask you just to round up, because we are over 5 minutes already. Sorry.
Okay, I will round up very quickly and not going into the details of these 2 slides. Everybody can see them. Important piece of our work that we are from the very beginning were able to put in our stakeholders in the middle of our work. So first of all, we have official observers which participate in our technical work, and we are very strong in public participation outreach. To summarize, I would say important for our successful work that we have an international mandate. We are working on sound scientific and technical basis based on the groups which are introduced already. We really understand that there is the contracting parties of our commission understand there is no progress in international water management without working over the entire basin. And of course, as I said, the public and involvement and is really a fundamental requirement, but also day-to-day mission on we work every day. And I'm ready to answer any questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivan. Indeed, especially the ingredients of success, I think they are very important to all the basins around the world which are participating today. Thank you so much. And Sebastian, if I could ask you for your presentation, also 5 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to thanks for the invitation to participate today. I really think that the MOOCs and these webinars are very, very necessary to strengthen the management of international waters. So I am honored to participate. Thanks to Ali for introducing me. In fact, Cuenca is river basins in Spanish. So although I have just finished my collaboration as project coordinator a few months ago, I'm now supporting the formulation of a new international water project between Ecuador and Peru. This will allow us to continue with the basis management and agreements. Today, I'd like to share with you the creation process of the Binational Commission for Integrated Water Resource Management in the Ecuadorian and Peruvian transboundary basins. I am sure that this experience can help other projects that are starting in other parts of the world, mainly in Latin America. In this presentation, we're going to have a brief summary of how the Binational Commission was created. At first, a context of integrated water resource management of the transboundary basins is presented. Then we're going to take a look at the political process for the formation of the Binational Commission, the contributing factor for the formation of the Commission, the agreement and its content, and how the Binational Commission is conformed. And finally, I will talk about some challenges and opportunities about this issue. The next one, please. The context of the integrated water resource management between Ecuador and Peru is developed over 9 transboundary basins, where 6 of them flow into the Amazon River and 3 flow into the Pacific Ocean. The environmental, social, and economic conditions are very, very different in these watersheds. The next one, please. As the political process for the formation of the Binational Commission, 2 main milestones are mentioned among different agreements established, which are the first agreement for the use of binational hydrographic basins, Huyangotumbes and Catamayo-Chira, that are the basins that are in the south of Ecuador and north of Peru, that was established in 1971. And in 1998, after decades of territorial conflict, the peace agreement was signed. After this, governors finally begin to develop cooperation agendas on various issues, including water and environmental management. The next one, please. It's important to indicate that after the signing of agreement for the confirmation of the Commission in 2017, institutions such IUCN with his project Bridge or the JEF project have been supporting the operation of the Commission. The next one, please. It has been a long process, how you can see. The main factors for the formation of the Commission are divided in 3 groups: bilateral country relations and agreements, for example, international cooperation for development of the border area, population causes, for instance, the increase of demand for water, agro-industrial activities, or the conflict generated by the contamination of waters by mining activities. And finally, hydrological and environmental aspects. For example, all these these basins are vulnerable to the effects of climate change and also to the El Niño y La Niña effect. The next one, please. Here I want to see the agreement and its content. The general objective of the Binational Commission agreement is to consolidate bilateral cooperations for the best use and management of water resources in transboundary basins. This general agreement has been supplemented with a regulation. This regulation has been under discussion for more than 2 years. Sensitive issues such as information exchange, water quality monitoring, or project consultations are being discussed. The implementation of the agreement also considers the formation of committees for each basin in which the representatives of the basin councils may participate. The next one, please. Here, the institutions that are part of the Binational Commission are, we have Peru and Ecuador Waters Authority institutions, Ministries of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Environment, regional representatives of the basins, regional representatives of the Pacific hydrological regions, regional representatives of the Amazon hydrological regions in Peru. All this process, how I told you, have been supported by JEF, UNDP, the JEF project, AUI and C, and with his bridge project. The next one, please. Okay. Also, the agreement indicates that it will conform of local representatives. Currently, these are from local governments and local offices of the Ministry of the Environment. The representation of social organizations and water users will be effective when the committees by basins are constituted. Finally, despite the important advance, I will explain some reasons why there have been delays in the implementation of the agreements in recent years. Probably the most important is the political instability in both countries. In Ecuador, more than 5 ministers of environment have changed in 4 years. In fact, there are 6 because just yesterday it changed again, other one. In Peru, there have been 4 presidents since 2016. Also, there have been external factors regarding the detention of officials and authorities. And I think that the main short-term challenges are to finish the elaboration of the regulations of the agreement, continue with the strengthening of officials and authorities in both countries on issues of international water governance. This will allow them to make decisions. That is a really big problem now because they change all the time. Fortunately, in recent years, the conditions have been created to generate opportunities also. There is a diagnosis and planning agreed between the countries. The JEF approved, because it's very important, the JEF approved a new international water project for the 3 transboundary basins. We are supporting this project now. We are in the PPG phase. This will be implemented with the support of a UNDP, where institutional strengthening is one of the main components. In addition, the IUCN Bridge project continue to support the process.
The challenge is just 1 second, Sebastian, because otherwise you cannot get the extra questions from the public.
I'm finished. Important issues, the people, the civil society continues to demand more and more response to problems for the authorities. In this context, I am optimistic and believe that there will be important progress in the short term. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for my rusty English.
I'm sorry to rush you all, because you all have such a great expertise and ability to share that, and we all want to listen to this. But at the same time, I'm also pressured by the number of questions which we have received before the participants joined our session, and I really would like to ask you those. So there were really many of them, and I have a number of them here in front of me. But still, probably you just focus on this, what fits most into this, the context of this, what we have said already, and into your expertise. So first of all, maybe again, ladies first, and let's give a floor to Christina. And Christina, because you gave us the kind of framework idea, right, in terms of the legal routing where the institutions are in terms of international water law. So the number of questions which have arrived to us were related to whether you think that basin organizations are more like cooperation or regulatory bodies. And at the same time, if you could speak a little bit more about their functions. Again, if we can think how the RBOs can promote not only water cooperation, but even beyond the water cooperation. And maybe you can also give us some examples from how the conventions which regulate the water courses, the water river basins, they differ from each other. Maybe I stop here, however, I still have a number of them for you.
That's very broad questions. Thank you, Barbara, and thank you for the participants. In terms of the function of river basin organizations as platforms for cooperation or also regulatory, it really that's something where I said, like, it's interesting to see this evolution over time, because of course attributing mandates and broad mandates to joint basin mechanisms is sort of handing over responsibilities from the individual member countries to a joint body. So typically it starts with cooperation functions and then often broadens into executive and regulatory functions. And for the effective management of the resources, of course, good if joint mechanisms can have strong regulatory and executive functions to really sort of provide these services to the riparian countries and the basin. And of course, as I said, basin agreements and conventions that establish mechanisms really differ a lot. It really very much depends on the basin context, on what kind of functions are attributed to an organization. It also very much depends on sort of culture, the relationship between countries. It's interesting to see that, for instance, in West Africa, we see a lot of authorities, in South Asia, more sort of committees, and in Europe, we see a lot of commissions in terms of the different types. So often it's also sort of regional characteristics. And maybe I stop here, so give also time for Sebastian and Ivan to respond to questions.
Thank you, but I come back to you. I hope we will have time for that. So indeed, Ivan, if you could maybe a little bit speak about, you spoke already about the ingredients of success, the 5, if I remember properly, maybe. Indeed, you could elaborate a little bit more about the success, how to achieve such a big success, and also what is what type of cooperation is most effective for RBOs from your perspective? What are successful? Maybe you can give us some successful and less successful examples. And since we also have participants, the question came also from other regions, like for example, from Africa, maybe you can also share one of the cooperating partners for your organization with the African ones.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the question. I think it's for another 15-minute presentation. So I would divide it in 3 blocks. First of all, what are the, as you said, the key ingredients? I think I just want to come back in a more detail what I said before. First, it is that the countries themselves own the technical work. And in particular, that we were able to get the political support from the responsible ministries to nominate the people who are in charge of this work at national level. It's first, I think. Secondly, it's also important that we are looking at the river in a holistic approach means that really the river basin management planning, either with or without Water Framework Directive, which requires the river basin management plan, this is important to look at basin as a whole. And in this respect, it's really important to get this, let's say, support for this approach. Another feature I would say is the role of the stakeholders in the basin. Our system of observers, which have a formal status, we have a criteria under which they are admitted to participate, and then they fully participate in all the work of the Commission. And plus, I think all the, let's say, outreach activities, public consultation is very important ingredient of our work. Speaking about the others, and I would say, as somebody asked about the African one, we, since, I don't know, year 2007, when ICPDR won this Tees River Prize and we get some little money from International River Foundation, we pick up this Orange Seku River Basin Commission in South Africa to partner with them. And we really see, not because of our support, we contributed a bit, but they had opportunity to participate, for example, in our joint Danube survey, a scientific research exercise to understand within 2 weeks the quality of the river. They are doing the same now. We help them to, let's say, establish this monitoring system. We also invite them to our, let's say, regular scientific exercises. So this type of things is important, and what we are really proud of, for example, about them is that they are next to us, looking not only for the quality of the basin and the water in the river, but also the impact on the agent water, so the receiving water body, because this gap between river basin commissions and marine ecosystem managers is still a big. So this is something what we like very much. And plus, again, saying that the job is done by the responsible people at the national level. I think I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Again, too many questions for too short time. But Sebastian, you were telling us, I think maybe somehow also in the relation, the question would be about the local community engagement. Ivan spoke about the stakeholders. Maybe you can give us a little bit of out of your experience, how important is the participation of the local community, and maybe the issues related to gender mainstreaming. How important is the role of women in terms of your experience in South America?
Okay, thank you, Barbara. Yes, I think that governance process of water resources generally have 4 main components. The first one is the stakeholder, the users, the institutions, in all the different relations shifts at different levels. The policies, the second that is the policies of or strategies for water management. The third one is the institutions, legal and regulatory frameworks. And the last one, the fourth, is the information and knowledge that supports decision making. So thus, governance is not possible without the involvement of local communities. In the case of Ecuador and Peru basins, local communities demand that the authorities solve the problems, such as pollution, how I have told you. In addition, for example, for the conservation of water resources to be sustainable, it is essential to work to reach agreements with the communities and not ours. Almost all the basins territory has private owners, so it is important to work with local communities. And about the gender, for integrated water resource management, it is essential to promote general mainstreaming. For example, with training action on institutions and communities, to promote the participation of women in organizations, and generate information disaggregated by gender, for example, for all the planning process, among others. Currently, despite progress, the participation of women in water management is very low in Ecuador and Peru. For example, in the leadership of irrigation organizations, less than 10% of women participate in this organization in Peru. So it's really important, so in conclusion, it's really important the involvement of local communities and also the general mainstreaming in the process.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I understand we have like around 5 minutes for the second round of question, which will be very, very brief. I try. Christina, you are representing the World Bank. What makes the funding sustainable for the RBOs? How can we fund them sustainably?
Right, thanks a lot. I'll be quick. So there are two aspects to funding. So one is sort of the core funding for the institution, and one is sort of funding for projects that institutions may implement. And for the core funding, here again, it depends a little bit on whether the institution has legal personality. Where it doesn't, it's typically the countries taking care of the costs of the national sections. Where it has legal personality, then there's often membership contributions. And there was a question earlier, as how do we take care of political asymmetries? For the core funding, when you decide on membership contributions, that's sort of also one of the ways to take care of political asymmetries, because if membership contributions are equal, then there is also a way to take care of asymmetries. But often we have contributions that depend on basin share, benefits countries derive from basins. And then there are some basins which are experimented with taxes, levies, and then there's also bilateral donor funding that can contribute to core funding, but mostly donor funding or other sort of investment funding, also private sector funding, would come for projects organizations implement. And here it's very important that the investors see that there is a legal agreement which establishes an institution with a strong legal personality, and that there is an institution that also has the capacity to manage the funds. And then typically there are many sources available from multilateral institutions, mostly grant funding, but also project funding for projects in terms of credits and loans, depending on the legal personality of the institution.
Thank you very much. One question to Ivan. We are getting into the race with time. Ivan, you spoke about the different mechanisms or ingredients of success, but if you are supposed to speak up only one mechanism which makes really sustainable the institution, a part of the money, because this is already what Christina explained to us, what would you say? Microphone? Ivan, microphone?
Yes, okay, thank you. It's very difficult to pick up one because I speak about a strong institutional country ownership. And third, which I not forgot, but I have no room for it, is a cross-sectoral cooperation. In institutions like RBOs, we have to understand that the decision on the water resources is not done only by water managers. It is done by operators of the hydro power station. It's done by agriculture people. It's done by water users. So in that respect, to have, if the Commission is going to be successful in moving its objectives in its convention or whatever intergovernmental agreement is to have support and understanding cooperation of other sectors. And that, for example, in our case, we were able to develop a joint policy guiding principle on sustainable development of hydropower, or joint statement on sustainable inland navigation. So this, I would say, the cross-sectoral cooperation is critical to be sure that we are able to change the water management of water resources towards sustainable and equitable use. I will stop here.
Thank you. Perfect. Last but not least, Sebastian, what about exchange of information? There was a question. We have a lot of problems throughout the different data, different basins with exchange of information. How can we make it better? How can we solve this problem?
Yes, here we have a lot of problems about that exchange. I think that the problem is about the lack of confidence in the use of the information between the countries. For example, when there is contamination upstream, I am talking about the problems, and maybe we can find the solutions also at the same time. There are a lack of financing of maintaining the operating information systems. There are a lack of technical capacities of the institutions and officials. Finally, I think that a lot of processing, a lot of bases. There are lack of a framework agreement for watershed management, which consolidates cooperations for the use and management of water resources. So if we can solve these problems, we can exchange the information in the future.
Thank you very much. I will not even try to summarize what you all have said because it's too much and too important. But let me just thank you for this plenary session and for sticking to the time and giving us the opportunity also to move after the short summary, which will be introduced by Yumiko, to the group works, to the group discussions, which I think will offer us again the space to go a little bit into the details of your presentations. Thank you very much, and Yumiko, to you.
Thank you very much, Barbara and Ali, for the great chair, and also three speakers, really interesting conversations. Now, you are going to have opportunity to directly ask questions to the speakers. Before we do that, we have an important announcement from Wuhan International Water Law Academy. I will give a floor to Professor Patricia Wurra for a brief introduction of the program. Pat, please go ahead. Please unmute yourself.
Okay. Hi, Yumiko.
Hi, we hear you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Ali. Thanks, Barbara. Thanks, speakers. That was a fantastic session. So now what I would like to do is to, I've just got two quick slides. The first one is we are having a major recruitment announcement. We would love to have more people know more about international water law. So the Wuhan International Water Law Academy has an LLM, a master's program, and a PhD program, which you can find out more if you go to some of these resources. Basically, I think we can go to the next slide just quickly. Basically, there are scholarships available through the Chinese government and maybe through your national governments. And the PhD program is over 3 years. We're looking for highly motivated scholars who like to do research in international law. We will supervise them. We have a cohort of impressive international water law experts from around the world. If you have a look at the Wuhan website, we have an LLM program that runs over 2 years. Once again, both of these programs will be run in somewhat of a similar fashion to what we used to do at the Dundee UNESCO Center, where Yumiko got her PhD and Ali got his PhD. What we're looking for, basic requirements, check on our website. There are some scholarships available. The Chinese scholarships have a deadline date of the 31st of March, so pretty soon. But self-funding, you can think about applying by June. If anyone wants more information, feel free to direct message me or Tianyun He at our Wuhan Water Law Academy. Thanks so much, Yumiko and GWP, for giving us this platform. And thank you once again for a fantastic session. And Yumiko and I will stay in the group to answer any other general questions you have when you break out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. So if you can show the next slide. Now we are going into the breakout sessions. And in this breakout session, as Patricia, Professor Wouters mentioned, if you have any questions about the Wuhan International Water Academy, the scholarship that's going to be due in 2 weeks' time, or any general questions about the MOOC, you can stay in the main session. If you would like to speak with Christina and Alistair, please go to the group 1. You can choose your breakout session. If you want to speak with the group Ivan and Barbara, please go to group 2. If you would like to speak with Sebastian and David is from Chongqing University of China and also part of the Wuhan International Water Academy, you can go to group 3. Now, group 3, since Sebastian can also speak Spanish, if you want to ask a question directly in Spanish, you can also go to group 3. There is no translator per se, but our speaker is capable of both English and Spanish. So that will be a bilingual group. So if you look, how do you go to the breakout session? If you go, see on the screen on the bottom, you will see the breakout rooms. And you click here, and then you will see a list of different groups. Then you can simply pick the group that you would like to go. Okay, so if everyone's ready, We have approximately 15 minutes for this part. So please pick a group. Now the breakout room is open. So pick your room and join the breakout. Actually, to take host, I don't quite see the choice of the breakout here.
Yeah, Yumiko, because you are hosting, but the rooms are at the bottom of the participant lists.
Excellent, excellent.
It might be for some people that you have to choose more on your lower pane and then go to the breakouts. Please check once again.
So if you don't know how to go to the breakout, please type in the chat which room you want to go. Please don't send me a private chat. Please send to everyone so the tech host will see it. Somebody just sent to me personal message, but please send it to everyone. Okay, now we see 60, yes, one by one. People are going to the breakout. So we just allow a few more minutes, and then we maybe one more minute for tech hosts to bring people to different groups. And then we could start this group who are left here in the main session. And for those who are staying in the main session here, please switch on your video, so if you can, so we can see each other. It will be very nice. And feel free to now unmute yourself. I think you should be able to unmute your microphone. Welcome, welcome to our session here. Whoever has any MOOC questions, Wuhan, a question to the Wuhan International Water Law Academy, Professor Patricia Wouters and myself are here to answer any questions. So please unmute yourself. Yes, Kamala, I see your hand up, please. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay, do you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you. Hi, yes. Kamala. Welcome.
Hello.
And hi, everybody. Hi, everybody.
Hello. Thank you very much for an extremely interesting session. I have a question about the opportunity for PhD. I have been, in fact, looking for a PhD opportunities for a while now. And I want to do it on the water law. I have a bachelor degree in international law, but I don't have a master degree in law. It's international relations. So I wonder first if that is applicable. And second, if I have to physically be in the university, or is there a possibility to do a distance PhD? So that's my question for now. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Yumiko, for this opportunity. Thanks, Kamala, for that question. But I'd like to sort of name check some people. Like I see some good friends here, like Salman and Rhea Stefan, people who have been our international water law experts. So thank you for being here. Okay, on the PhD and on the LLM, everybody knows that this past year has been really strange. So I think there's a lot of work in progress, and part of the interest in doing this very interactive international water law live series was to really have engagement. So the short answer is, on the PhD, you don't have an LLM. You don't need an LLM. You just need a graduate degree to apply. And we go on really scholarship talent and also motivation, your motivation letter. So what you should do, I mean, we're still putting up some of the information on the site. You should contact Tian Yun He, or you can send a direct message to me and ask me about the PhD program, and then we start. because there is a requirement of some course credits on the PhD, you might have to come to Wuhan, but saying that, things have changed now. So I'm with my international cohort, we will have a lot of interactive one-on-one sessions, so a very dynamic platform. And if you look at our group of affiliates, we've got over 20 people, including many of the people speaking on this MOOC. So you'd have the best cohort of supervisors. And we come of that with a lot of experience, because I've had the great fortune to supervise probably the largest number of international water law PhDs in the world. And I have so many out there now. So we'd love to have you. Let's see how it all rolls out. You know, watch this space, apply. I don't know if you get a scholarship, you might, but you know, in the past, all of my students who've been at Dundee, including Yumiko, including Ali, including, I don't know if Anna's here, people are very resourceful in finding scholarships, like really resourceful. So if you're really keen, the International Water Law Group is always the best. Love to see you there. Good luck with it. Hope that helps.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer. And I hope that answered your question, Kamala. Great.
Yeah. And scholarship, pretty important. Pretty much all of my PhDs have got monographs out there from their work. So scholarship level is very high. I'm very rigorous as a supervisor, but I find the international water law students who've made it to Dundee and who'll make it to Wuhan are just the best. So I am optimistic and excited.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, I can tell you, Professor Patriciou can be very tough, but it's worth it. It's worth it to study with her. I can tell you from my experience. She's also dynamic and very inspiring to be with and to work with. So I highly recommend. Anyone else has any questions, comments? You can also just say hello, introduce yourself. You're welcome.
And there's
Jacob, I saw you unmuted.
Deborah. I saw so many people here. I know, it's so nice to see everybody. Yeah, a lot of you have been to Dundee. It's so nice to see you. Some questions or some comments, it'd be very welcome. And indeed, you know, I have to really give thanks to DWP. It's been such a pleasure. Today we've had over 270 people register for this event and over 140 online live. It's like a huge success. So you're part of the swell of international water law and transboundary cooperation, but I give every credit due to GWP. So let's hear from somebody who wants to say hi.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, Jacob. Hi, Jacob. Go ahead.
My name is Jacob Abumba, and I am from Kenya. And I am a student at the University of Nairobi, currently doing my thesis in environmental law. And my thesis is on transboundary water resources governance. So my question is, I've looked at the deadline, and I'm just like, okay, this is something that I would have really loved to do, but looking at the deadlines, so how does this work for the already continuing students like me, who is passionate about water and who is interested in this particular area, but seems like the deadlines might not be working for them?
Okay, on that one, deadlines are, you know, I find that my international water law students have always been the most resourceful in terms of finding their way and getting to do the LLM or do the PhD. So I would suggest you can try to apply for the PhD scholarship deadline, because the China scholarship program probably has a cutoff. But there are so many scholarships and bilateral programs between China and many African countries. So I would ask you to have a look and see whether there's any bilateral programs for Kenya and China that you can apply to. I've had some of the best people from Kenya and from Africa and from around the world study with me. In fact, one of them was your former Water Resources Minister, John Niaro, was a student of ours in Dundee.
Ah, okay.
Actually, Big John, yeah. Yeah, and pretty much every country here, we've probably seen you in Dundee, but what we want to do is to see you in Wuhan. And, you know, I don't know when we'll see you in Wuhan, but, you know, this online engagement has become so real for so many of us that Wuhan will push up the boat. So I'm saying, Jacob, try for the scholarship, try for the deadline, you know, don't just, you've got 2 weeks, you can try. And then try to find some other scholarships and try to get to Wuhan and see how it goes. Stay in touch. Love to have you. Good luck with your thesis.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that interaction. So yes, I think it's a good idea to try as much as you can, for sure. Anyone else has any other questions, comments? If you would just like to say hello, you're very welcome also. So,
hello, Yumiko and colleagues.
Hello, Farah. Hello.
Hey, Farah. Hey, Farah. Can we not see you?
Talk to you too.
Do you have a video? Do you have a video?
Just saying hello, and I'm very interested in what you are discussing today. And I'm not sure if I still qualify to apply for a PhD.
I hope.
Although I'm highly interested. Anyway, I think you have responded to some of the things I wanted to ask, but it's okay. We'll talk offline.
Yes, of course, Farah. Well, everyone, you should maybe be teaching me the PhD there, Farah. Farah is a director at OCACOM, and he will be on International Water Law Session 5 when we talk about infrastructure. So, of course, we can talk offline. And, anyone who's here, happy to talk. I really believe the way forward is developing new communities, a community of scholars and a community of transboundary water cooperation. And, I'm in there for the international water law, but we need all of you. But when you come to study with me, it will be international law in all of its dimensions. So we'll do climate law and so. But it's a fantastic group. I mean, my students continue to inspire me, and that's why I'm still in the game, because the students are so inspirational, because the questions, transboundary water cooperation is so hard, it's still so current. So we need this new generation of local water leaders to change things up. International law has a lot to answer for. This past couple of years has not been fantastic. I think you can make a difference, and that's why I want to see you in Wuhan. Farah, nice to see you. Yay.
Nice to see you again. Thank you.
Nice to see you. You've been to Dundee.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for these interactions. I see a hand up from Tefera. Do you have a question?
No, just to say hello.
Hi.
I'm Tefera from Ethiopia. I teach water law in Gondar University School of Law. The training is very interesting. I really impressed by the guest lecturers. I mean, the panelists. So it's very impressive. I would like to recommend for my colleagues in our school. Even I'm very attracted by the scholarship, and I would try to tell my friends to attend or to try to apply for the scholarship for PhD and LLM program. So just to express my what I can say, my impression on the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. But Tefera, have we not met? Did I not examine your PhD? Where did you do your PhD? We've been in communication. Your name sounds so familiar.
Pardon?
Have we not met before? Your name seems so familiar to me. Ethiopian Tefera Kasa, you sound familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you do your PhD? Where did you do your PhD?
I completed my PhD from UNISA, University of South Africa.
Oh, yes. Okay.
In environmental law.
Wonderful to have you teaching international water law, and we'd love to see
I teach international water law. I teach Ethiopian domestic water law. So
Excellent.
This course is very interesting, and it has some correlation with environmental law, as you know.
Yeah.
So I'm benefiting much from the course.
Thank you. Wonderful to meet you. Thank you.
Nice meet you too.
Thank you very much. I think we are almost finishing with the session now. We probably have about a minute. So any final questions? Oh, is everybody back now?
Looks like, are we going back?
Okay,
No,
I think
20 seconds and the rooms will be closed. But 20 more seconds.
Okay, so 20 seconds and everyone's coming back. So thank you so much for this. I think this was very, very useful interactions, and I'm very, very happy to see many of you asking questions and interest in the Wuhan International Water Academy program too. Thank you so much. And
thank you, Yumiko. It's been a pleasure, and it was so wonderful to see everyone and so many international water law experts in that group. You know, so I thank them for being there. Like would have been nice to see Salman. So thank you, Yumiko, and thanks, students. Keep up the international water law team.
Thank you very much. As I see everybody's now coming back, I would like to ask Alistair to share the this part. Alistair, please.
Yeah, thanks. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thanks everyone. Yeah, what I thought we could do just very briefly is invite our speakers just for a very short reflection on the breakout rooms and their thoughts on the discussion. So let me quickly first turn to Christina and yeah, please provide a quick reflection of the session.
Yeah, thank you, Ali, and thanks for the participants in our group. We actually discussed again sort of this important role of joint mechanisms to build confidence in the basin over time and sort of to deepen cooperation in the basin, as well as providing services to countries also with respect to climate change, sort of the forecasting of extreme risks, droughts, floods, that river basin organizations can provide because they monitor the characteristics of the basin. And an important point that Ivan also talked about is his importance that cooperation needs to be carried within the riparian countries, not only by the governments, but also by the local communities. And therefore the importance and the interesting trend, an important trend that river basin organizations now more and more really include stakeholder engagement mechanisms to really sort of have this broad support for transboundary water resource management in all riparian countries.
Fantastic, thanks, Christina. Can I now turn over to Ivan for some thoughts on your session, on your breakout group?
Yes, I can. You hear me now, so thank you. It's complicated to get through the remote control. Yes, I think it was from our session. I would pick up 3 key issues discussed there. First of all, we elaborated in more detail on the ingredients of the success, and I think very important. We again discuss about the quality of the data, which leads to new trust building. So the trust building is critical for me. Once you have this, let's say, data, solid, agreed, jointly exchange data, then it's easier for the cooperating parties to develop policies and design measures how to implement. Secondly, there was an issue whether this principle of international transboundary cooperation is also to be transferred to the large countries with large rivers, like, for example, China or Brazil or some Africa. And then we said that, of course, it's doable, except for US, it's a different story. But in principle, look at Mississippi or Colorado, but in principle, the principles are the same. If the cooperating provinces are able to agree what are the issues beyond the control of their local government, whether they are able to share the data and agree on exchange this data, and then they are able to agree on an objective of the central government, what they to achieve with the river, improve the quality, develop hydropower or more water for irrigation. That is easier to go. So the principles are the same. Simply everybody could step out from their local regional framework and to look at the basin. And the last one was the role of young generation. And I think we got some sort of praise for us, what we were able to do with students and with the Danube Art Master or Danube Day celebration. So to find a way how to involve young generation to understand that the protection, the cooperation on the river, the protection of the water resources is something important for the future. I will stop here. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Ivan. So last but not least, Sebastian, can I turn over to you?
Yes, thanks, Ali. We talk about the difficulties in the management of transboundary basins in Latin America, the case of the Rio de la Plata and the basins between Ecuador and Peru, of course. We talk about a little bit of the history in management, the importance of the indigenous people, the involvement of the local communities, how these influence the formation and participation in the RBOs. Finally, we discuss the problem with the continuity of the process in government institutions. We realize that this is a problem in all the Latin America, the instability politics.
Wonderful, thanks. A great discussion. So now what I'd like to do, if I may, is to pass over to my co-chair and invite some final comments.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We have just a very brief time, but I think that we have traveled today through the world, looking at the experience from Europe, but also looking towards South America, and having all of this framed into the legal context of international water law. I would like to thank Christina that she was sharing with us this or anchoring the discussion into what are the functions, what are the aspects which make the legal cooperation easier. So what is the legal personality, what kind of different types of basin organizations we have. And Ivan was telling us the secrets of the success, sharing with us the ingredients of how important it is to have the exchange of data, have the common trust built, have the public participation, different stakeholders. And then we were traveling to South America, talking about the bilateral cooperation, when there is not the challenge of 19 countries, but of 2, which not necessarily always must be much easier than having so many at the table. And we have been hearing also about the different mechanisms, for example, how to exchange the information. I think it's impossible just to repeat, or that makes no sense. So I really would like to draw your attention to this, to the wider information provided by the websites of our partners of this river basins organizations, which were presented to you today, and also to our MOOC, where you can also find much more in-depth information into the issues related to RBOs and to international water law. Thank you.
Brilliant, thanks, Barbara, and thanks a lot for chairing. Thanks a lot, just from me to our speakers. It's been such a rich session. I think I need to go over the recording a few times to capture everything, which is just, yeah, it's brilliant. So thanks a lot. So I'll just pass over now to Yumiko for some final words in closing.
Thank you very much, Ali and Barbara. And yes, the recording is going to be available. Actually, all the recording from the previous sessions are available, and also today will be available in a couple of days. So please feel free to watch as many times as you want. Thank you so much to the speakers, Christina, Ivan, Sebastian, really excellent inputs, and really, it was so rich. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you, Professor Patricia Wooters, for reading very important information for everyone. There are lots of questions about that. And also, I would like to thank everybody, all of you, for participating today so actively, asking so many questions. Really, really appreciate it. And we can continue the conversation online in the MOOC platform that I'm going to show you in a minute. But before we get there, I would like us to just to take a few minutes to reflect on today. It's always good to reflect in what you have learned today. So please tell us, please go to your pauleve.com again and just tell us, just in few, in whatever words that you want to say, 1 word, 2 words, or a sentence. What have you learned today? Just let us know. Please type into pauleve.com/GWP. We would really love to hear how this session really was and what it meant for you. I think, thank you so much. And I now, in the meantime, I see some comments in the chat. Key success factors for international RBOs. People learned a lot. Collaboration across sectors is the key. That is so true. The functionality of the River Basin organization. The effectiveness of the RBOs. Yes, importance of RBO in diplomacy. That is so true. Got to know many new experts and learn about education opportunities. Really glad to hear that. So much different legal categories of RBOs. Merci, thank you. Continued goodness, cooperation, wellness, and longevity. Yes. Importance of engaging local communities. Really important. Thanks, Sebastian, for bringing that up. An example to follow, ICPDR. That's really great. Success depends on interaction and history of the Basin organizations. We want more of this, more discussion with RBOs, please. Okay, we'll take the note of that. Effectiveness of RBO depends on national commitment. This is so true. No matter how much money the donors could provide, at the end of the day, it's a government. The regional focus, the National River Basin adapt the RBO. I work with the RBO system in Brazil. Happy listening from other countries. Really happy to hear that. Thank you. The Cebu River Basin colleagues is also learning. I'm really great to hear this is learning up to also your national basin as well. A whole session on ICPDR, so much to learn from. The legal foundations, motivation in your journey towards contributing in RBO. There's so many formulas of success. That is so true. It can be copied. You can actually listen and see what are the different key success. And if you look at the MOOC, there are also so many cases of success stories. So thank you so much for this feedback. I would like to then ask you the final question in the next Paul Leaf question. What would you like to see in the next interactive session? We always love to hear from you what you're interested in so we can plan for our next sessions and in the future sessions. So please tell us here in the Paul Leaf, or if you don't have access to Paul Leaf, you feel free to type in the chat. Dispute settlement mechanisms. Yes, it's very important. And I should tell you that in our MOOC module on international water law, there is a lecture dedicated to this topic. So please feel free to look at that. How to bring more riparian around the table. That's a real major challenge. Also, please also look at the water diplomacy section of the module 2. Insights of effective and wide stakeholder engagement and participation. Thank you so much. There's also a lecture on that on the module 5, involving youth in RBO. This is a very interesting question. I think I'm sure that Ivan could speak more about that from the ICPDR experience, I know for sure, but there are probably many more experience. Participation, conflict resolution, how to motivate riparian representatives to act, concrete example of success and failure. Yes, it's not easy to talk about the failure, but it is important. More international water law and transboundary cooperation, more opportunities for future postgraduate studies, example of information exchange and so on. Track 2 diplomacy, yes. Please also take a look at the water diplomacy module of our MOOC. Conflict resolution mechanism, the good practices on how to have the good multi-stakeholder platforms. Thank you so much for all this input. Yes, you can keep that typing, and we will be actually sending you a post-event survey immediately after this. So please give us some feedback through that survey as well. Thank you so much for this input. And now I would like to just to close the session. As I mentioned, this interactive session is designed as a part of this learning, combined learning with the MOOC. MOOC is, you can take it on their own space, but this interactive session gives you a direct engagement with the experts. We have 6 modules, and I'm happy to also tell you today's all the speakers and all the chairs from today's sessions are all giving either the lecture or the case study in this MOOC. So please look up for their names and look at their videos and also many other videos. We also have a lot of case studies in this MOOC to really highlight how different principle has been actually implemented on the ground. So please sign up. It's free of charge. You do have to pay if you want a certificate that is the edX, the platform requirement, but otherwise just taking a course is free for everyone. So please feel free to sign up. I would like the time was really not enough for us to answer all the questions today. But if you sign up to the MOOC, there is a discussion forum where you can actually continue the conversation from today's session. We have created a special MOOC session for today's session. You just saw that in the previous slide. About the today's session, and if you click it, you will come here. You can see here is an example of how people have typed in the response. You can post any questions or comments, and you can actually comment to each other. We really encourage you to comment with each other to really promote this peer-to-peer learning. So please sign up for the MOOC, go to the discussion forum, and continue the conversation. And we will be monitoring the chat, this conversation very actively. And if we see any question that requires expert answers, we are reaching out to the expert to get some answers. So please feel free to post any comments, questions, and so on. And let's make this community a very lively one, online and when everybody not online at the same time, but through this platform. Now, I would like to just go to the next, the final part here. As I mentioned, this is a part of the 6th series of a transboundary freshwater security governance train that we are convening together with the Wuhan International Water Law Academy. Today, we are in the session 3, and we have 3 more sessions that are planned, 1 each month. The 3rd Tuesday of every month. The next one will be on international water law and climate change in April 20th. Session 5 will be on international water law and infrastructure on the 18th of May. And the final one will be on international water law and groundwater on the 15th of June. So please keep these days in your calendar. And we are very much looking forward to welcoming you in the next session on the April 20th on international water law and climate change. So thank you so much, everyone, for participating. And as we say goodbye to each other, I would like to suggest we take a group photograph. So please, everyone, to switch on your camera. If you like to be in the photo, of course, it's not mandatory, but we would love to see you. And then maybe smile to each other, to wave hands, to say hello and goodbye, and to see you again in the next sessions. So please, everyone, switch on. Thank you for the thumbs up as well. And our tech host is taking the photos. So please just keep smiling just for another 30 seconds, perhaps. And the tech host will tell us when photos is done. And please note that we might be using these photos in the promotion materials. So tech host, please tell us when we can stop waving. Just a few more minutes. Keep smiling.
Yeah, it's okay now. Thanks, Yumiko. Thanks
Great.
all.
Thank you so much, Mario. So with this, I would like to close today's session. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you for participating and all the chairs and speakers, and wonderful session. And really can't wait to see you again in the next session. Thank you. Thank you and goodbye.